Sons took everything from their father. Then karma hit hard. This old man once owned 2 properties, a successful business, and a life that most people only dream about. But tonight, he is sitting on a park bench, alone, with nothing but a small duffel bag. Not because he failed, but because the 3 sons he gave his entire life to threw him out like a stranger. And if you think that is the shocking part of this story, you haven't heard what happened to those sons next. Stay with me, because the last part of this story will leave you absolutely speechless. Meet Robert, a man who never once put himself first. He grew up in a small town in Ohio. No silver spoon, no connections, no shortcuts. Just 2 hands, a strong back, and a work ethic that never quit. He woke up at 5 in the morning every single day of his life, worked construction through his 20s, built his own contracting business from scratch through his 30s, never took a sick day, never complained, never once said, "This is too hard." Because in Robert's mind, there was only one reason he was working so hard: his 3 sons, Tyler, Brandon, and Dylan. He put all 3 boys through college, paid every tuition bill without blinking, bought each one a car when they graduated, helped them with their down payments when they got married, gave Tyler and Brandon positions in his own company when they asked. Neighbors, friends, everyone who knew Robert used to say the same thing: "That man lives for his kids." And Robert would just shrug and say, "That's what fathers do." For over 35 years, this man's entire existence revolved around his children. He drove an old pickup truck for a decade because a new one would have meant less money for the boys. He skipped vacations. He wore the same winter jacket for 8 years. He ate sandwiches at job sites while his sons ate well and lived comfortably. And for a long time, that sacrifice felt like enough. Then Robert's wife passed away after a long illness, and everything changed almost immediately. The phone calls got shorter. The visits became rare. The warmth slowly drained out of every conversation. And then one Sunday afternoon, Tyler showed up at the house, not to sit with his father, not to check on him, not to ask if he was okay living alone for the first time in his life. He showed up with papers. A lawyer had drawn them up. Everything was already prepared. Tyler placed the documents on the kitchen table, barely making eye contact, and said, "Dad, we need you to sign the house over to us. The business, too. It just makes more financial sense for the family going forward." Robert's hands started trembling. "But son, where am I supposed to go?" Tyler glanced at his brothers who were waiting in the car outside. "We'll work something out, Dad. Don't worry about it." They never did. 10 days later, Robert was standing on the front porch of the home he had built his entire life inside of. 1 duffel bag, no car. His phone plan had already been canceled. A neighbor from down the street found him sitting on a bench at the local park just after dark. Just an old man, a shattered heart, and 35 years of love that meant absolutely nothing to the people he had loved the most. Now, I know exactly what you are thinking right now. You are thinking this is just another heartbreaking story. Father suffers quietly, sons move on with his money. Life is unfair, and that is just how it goes. But stay with me, because what happened to Tyler, Brandon, and Dylan in the next 90 days is something you are genuinely not going to forget. 30 days after Robert was removed from his own home, Tyler's business partner, a man he had trusted for years, was caught embezzling. Not a small amount. Hundreds of thousands of dollars had been quietly moved out of their joint accounts over 18 months. By the time the investigation was done, Tyler's company was insolvent. The lawsuits came fast, the assets were frozen, and the house he had taken from his father? He had used it as collateral on a loan he could no longer pay. The bank took it within 60 days. Tyler lost everything his father had built. In 1 month. 45 days after the betrayal, Brandon's wife filed for divorce. She had been planning it for a long time. The settlement was brutal. The court awarded her the house, primary custody of their 2 kids, and a significant portion of his income going forward. Brandon called his father's old number by accident one night, then remembered it had been disconnected. He sat in his empty apartment and cried harder than he had cried since he was a child. And Dylan, the youngest, the one Robert had been most patient with, most gentle with, most proud of, had quietly taken his share of his father's business and poured it into a real estate investment that several of his friends had convinced him was a guaranteed return. The deal collapsed completely. Every partner disappeared. Every dollar was gone. And the contracting business Robert had spent 20 years building, the one Dylan had taken full control of. 3 of their biggest clients pulled their contracts in the same week after discovering the company had changed ownership and leadership without proper disclosure. The business folded within months. 3 sons, 3 complete collapses. 90 days. Was it coincidence? Was it just bad luck hitting all 3 of them at once? Or was it something that cannot be explained by logic alone? Robert never once wished harm on his boys. He never hired a lawyer, never made a single phone call to cause them trouble, never said a bitter word about them to anyone who asked. He just prayed. Every single night in the small spare bedroom that his neighbor Margaret offered him until he could get back on his feet. He did not pray for revenge. He did not ask for justice. He just prayed that his boys would be okay. A local hardware store owner gave him part-time work, enough to cover his basics, enough to live with dignity. And slowly, without any noise or drama, Robert found something his sons had completely lost: peace. Then one evening in late October, there was a knock at Margaret's front door. Robert opened it. Dylan was standing on the porch. He had lost weight. His eyes were red. He could not hold his father's gaze for more than a second before his face completely broke down. He stepped forward and grabbed his father in a hug so tight it seemed like he was afraid to let go. For a long time, neither of them said anything. Then Dylan pulled back, looked his father in the eyes with tears streaming down his face, and said, "Dad, I am so sorry." "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to know that I am sorry." Robert put both hands on his son's face and said, "Dylan, I forgave you before you even knocked on that door." And that is the difference between a parent and everyone else in this world. A parent loves you at your absolute worst, forgives you before you even find the courage to ask, and carries your pain silently long after you have forgotten you caused it. If this story hit something deep inside you, please take 1 second and give it a like. Not for the algorithm, but for every parent out there who gave everything they had and never once asked for anything in return. Share this video with someone today. Maybe they need to hear this story. Maybe you needed to hear it too. And if you are a parent watching this right now, please know that your love is never wasted. Your sacrifice is never invisible. Every sleepless night, every skipped vacation, every silent struggle you carried alone so your kids could have more. It is all seen. Subscribe for more real stories that remind us what actually matters in this one life we get.